In the previous video we learned what are routes, and in this video we're going to learn what are views in Laravel. So guys, we've already discussed that view is basically in the MVC framework. It stands for views. V letter stands for views, and it separates the application logic and the presentation logic, which means if we had to check the model view structure, all the conditioning and all the calculation of the database, etc., happens in the controller, and the information is taken from the model, which actually grabs the information from database. uh, View is the one that will actually show the actual view to the user in the front end. So whatever is being displayed over here is actually being displayed by views. Okay. And so views are stored in resource views directory. We have already discussed in our directory tutorials video that the views actually reside in the resources and then views directory, and this the default one is welcome.blade.php. Okay. All the views should have an extension of .blade.php. We have discussed this as well, that Blade is a templating engine, and by adding .blade.php at the end of your file as this extension, you actually allowing the Blade templating engine to work so that you can use its methods and different kind of components, etc. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it out. Let's go ahead and create a view called about.blade.php. So this is the default one. You can see welcome.blade.php, and we have discussed that already. Web.php was actually allowing us to display that view. We want to display a different view, and we want to create a new view. So you can create a new view inside of these views directory. Okay, you can create a folder and create a view inside of that, or you can just create in the root directory of view as well. That's completely fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create about.blade. Remember, we need to put blade as its extension. So it's about.blade.php. Oh, sorry, I think I put the dot twice. I'm just going to delete it. So again, once again, it's about is the name of the view, .blade is the templating engine extension, and then .php. So you can see it's about.blade.php. I've created that inside of the views, inside of the resource directory, and this is my view. If I just type anything over here, if I come back and try to access that, and guess what, it's not available. I don't see that. The reason for this is because everything in Laravel goes by the route. Okay, so remember what route we are accessing. We are accessing the root URL, and what is being displayed by the root URL. How do we know that? Well, the best way to figure out that is if we just go on to our project. So my project resides in Valley, cd my new, I think that's the name. Yeah, that's the one. If I want to see what are the routes, where it's going to go, all I have to do is type a command called php artisan route list. And sure enough, you can see that my route that's available for the home directory goes to the web. Obviously I don't have any routes for this particular file that we have created, which is the about.blade.php. So we need to create one, otherwise we won't be able to access it. So any view that you create, you need to create a route for that. Okay, so in order for you to create a route, you guessed it right, you need to go to routes, then web.php, and create a new one. So let's do that. I'm just going to copy paste this because we need to create a new route. So you can define multiple routes over here. So it needs to go to the home directory, and then let's say I want this file to be available to view at root URL and then about/about. Okay, and I want to load the view called about. So remember, to load the view which was welcome.blade.php, I had to just use welcome in the view function, and now in order for me to load the about.blade.php, all I have to use is just about. I don't actually have to put .blade.php. Okay, so coming back over here, let's go ahead and access that. Before we access it, let me see if that's actually working. If I again say php artisan route list, great. So you can see now a URI about is available, and it's going to go ahead and load the about view. Okay, great. Now, remember, Artisan is basically a command line CLI interface for Laravel that provides us with lots and lots of useful commands that we can use in order for it to create some files, view something. So you can do a lot of stuff with that. You're going to be using it all the time. Great. So let's go back. Obviously, we want to go ahead and load about view. Where is it available? It is available at this extension, at this URL get request of home URL and then about. So let's try that. Home URL about, and it should actually load the about.play.php because that's what is returned by this. So let's try that. Okay, I think it didn't catch it properly. Great. So you can see it's test, and that's what we had written over here. Obviously, you can write the whole thing. You can just write the whole file. You can change the title to about. You can also write about over here. You can write whatever you want over here. Everything will be displayed there on that file, on that URL. You can see it's about, and the title is about as well. Great. Let's proceed further. Okay, so we've created the route. This is what we discussed earlier. Okay, it's preferable to keep your view files into separate folders. So let's say that, you know, if I want to keep the about and all of the things into a different folder, let's say this one. Let's say I want to keep it into, let's say I name it as home, or I'll name it as about only. Let's name it as about. So I've created a directory inside of the views directory. I'm going to move this file to about. Okay, obviously now if I go ahead and search and try to open this up, it won't work. Why? Because the route that we have given is about. So it has to go inside of this. So in order for us to access this, all we have to do is first give the name of this particular directory, which we have already done about. If this was something else like home, you would have mentioned home over here. And then we can say dot, and then the name of the file that we want to load. And now if we go ahead and try it, sure enough, you can see now it's loading up perfectly fine. I think what you also do is you can just do like this about. So I want to load up the view called about blade.php which is inside of the about directory. I can do that as well. If I do that, it will still load up the same thing. But I just choose to prefer the dot method. I think it's more simple. I like it that way. Great. Okay, now if I want to change this to like about file or something, I can just change it. But obviously that will now be available at about file URL. I'll refresh the page, it's available. Great. Okay, let's proceed further. Passing the data from routes to view files. Now obviously by just loading the view would not really always help. We may want to pass some data. We may want to do some calculation right here, and we may want to pass some data inside of that view. So how do we do that actually? So let's say I go ahead and create a variable called var, or let's just say name. Name is Imran. Okay, and let's say if I want to pass this to that view, how would I make this available inside of that view? So it's very simple, guys. Laravel provides us with different sort of functions. The very common function that I personally use is compact. So all you have to do is wherever you're loading this view, inside of this view function, it accepts two parameters. First is the view name of the file that you want to load, and the second is the function that you can use to pass the data to that view. So I want to go ahead and pass the name variable. If you want to pass the name variable, all you have to do is just write this compact function, and inside of this compact function you just put the string name of the variable in quotes. Okay, so I don't have to write dollar, that won't work. All I have to do is just write the name of the variable within quotes. And if I do that, and if I try to access this name over here, so I'll say name, just going to zoom in, so I'll say name, and I'll use the templating engine. I'll explain to you how this works. Basically, if you want to echo something, using the blade templating engine, then you just need to use this double curly braces that will allow you to go and echo something inside of the all of the .blade.php files. So I want to echo out the variable called name, and now if I check, you can see you've got name as Imran. Okay, so I'm getting the value of the variable being displayed over here because that variable is being passed over here. If you want to pass an array, yes, you can pass an array as well. So let's say my array name is my array, and I will pass that like an array. Okay, name, whatever you want to pass, you can pass it, and that will still be available. If you want to pass multiple things, you want to pass name and you want to pass my array as well, you can just do comma and then pass the other thing as well. Okay, so you're passing my array, and if I try to access that over here, ideally it should not work because that's an array. My array. Try to refresh the page. Sure enough, you can see that HTML special characters. Whenever you get this kind of an error which says HTML special character expects one parameter, one to be a string, array given. So this is most of the time because you're trying to go ahead and echo out an array. Understand, even in PHP, if you try to echo out an array, you are going to get an error. So what do we need to do? You need to run a loop. Okay, so in Blade templating engine, in order for you to use the for each loop, you just put the @ sign before that. Okay, and then you don't have to put a bracket like this. You will just do @ and for each. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and inside of this you can run a loop. You don't have to actually put the brackets and all. Okay, so I will say my array as array, and now I will be able to actually echo out. Remember, to echo out we need to use the double curly braces. You can write PHP in the view files as well. It does allow you to do that, but what's the point then using the Blade templating engine if you have to always do that? There will be times you will use PHP as well, but for now let's just use the Blade templating engine. Okay, so I want to echo out the array, or let's name it as val, my array as well. So this will loop through each item of the array. Okay, so now if I go ahead and save it, and if I go ahead and check that, refresh the page, and sure enough you can see that name is being printed, and name was the one which was available inside of this array. If I pass more items over here like age also, then that will also be available there. You can see age is also available, right? So it's pretty simple. Okay, all you have to do is just write a function called compact, pass the name of the variable not with the dollar sign, without the dollar sign. You can pass an array, object, you can do just pass whatever you like. Okay, great. There are different ways to pass data, different functions to pass data. Compact is one of the most common ones. There are other ones as well, so I'm just going to tell you which are the other ones. So there is one called compact, which I've already explained to you. Then there is in the braces you have data and then data arrays, so I'm just going to tell you that one as well. So if I had to pass the same thing using that method, I'll put name, which is the key basically, and then the value. What will be the value of that? So I can just put value over here like sim or something. Okay, and that would still work. So now if I go and check, refresh the page, okay, there's something wrong here. Obviously this needs to be a variable name. Okay, there's something wrong. One moment. I think the reason why we're getting this error because we're trying to access the for each loop with my array. Let's get rid of my array over here. You can see now it's available. Let's try to see if we change something over here and if that works. Okay, sim. That works as well. Great. So basically, when you're passing in this fashion, not by a compact way, you just opening the square brackets, name of the variable. Again, this will be without the dollar sign, so just the name of the variable, and this name variable will be available with the dollar sign over here. Whatever value you put over here will be available there as well, so you can just pass this value or this value, whatever you want to pass over here, you can pass it. The main thing you need to notice over here that what will be available in the view will be dollar name. So whatever key name you pass over here will be available over here as well. So if I change this to var or something, and if I then try to change it over here as var, you would notice that that will still work. Great, it's working. Okay, next way to do it is with the with function. Okay, so let's try that as well. So I'm going to go back to web.php and I'm going to go on to say with and then bracket, and then we'll put that as var because that was the name of the variable you were using over there. And I'll say this time I'll say Amy. I think it's too big. Let's just use the screen size. All of this information there on my site, so you can always refer back to that. You don't have to make any notes. Argument to passed with must be a callable all null. Okay, so this needs to be a callable. Okay, so basically when you're using with, then this would need to go outside of the bracket and not inside of the bracket, and that too with an arrow sign. Now if you try it, sure enough you can see it's there. Okay, generally with the method is also used when we are trying to access a session variable. So let's say this value will actually also be available as a session variable. So if I go ahead and say over here that session and I put that key as var, that would also be available. You can see. Okay, I think that's not working. Okay, so that basically whenever you're dealing with sessions and all that will work, but in this scenario let's just stick to var. Okay, and that can be accessible as var variable. Okay, so you will learn about the session in the coming videos as well. Okay, great. Next method is with data. So let's try that as well. So I'm going to change this to with data, and let's just keep it to var, and I'll just change it to name over here and try to access name over here. And that should work. Okay, I think there's something wrong. So guys, with data would actually be used if you want to pass some dynamic key value properties or pairs. So I'll just show that to you. Let's say I want to pass data and it's an array of key value properties. Let's say name, Imran, gender, male. So if I want to pass this key value pair of array, okay, like this data, I can use that with data function. Okay, and I can just pass it like this. And if I want to then access it over here, I can use PHP tag. In order for you to use the PHP opening and closing tag in Blade template engine, you will use @php and @endphp, and then I'm just going to print this data over here, and then I should be able to get this entire array right here. So you can see that I have array name is equal to Imran, gender male. I can also access a particular key. Let's say I want to access the key which is name. I can see that Imran. Okay, so because the key of name is the value is Imran, so that's what's coming right now. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the views. Okay, and in the next video, guys, we will discuss the controller. If you do like my videos, guys, please do subscribe to my channel, and all of these notes will be available to you on imranhsayed.com courses, and then you will be able to see the Laravel notes over here. Okay, see you guys. Bye bye.